If you feel like you're doing fine because you're paying your bills on time, you are likely failing the most important financial test of your life. In your 20s, being fine is the new broke. Today, we're breaking down the exact mistakes that keep 20-somethings trapped in a paycheck-to-paycheck cycle forever, and how you can escape the trap before it's too late. Here is something that very few people talk about clearly enough, but it is arguably the single most impactful financial lever available to someone in their 20s, your employer's pension or retirement contribution match. When you join a company and they offer to match your pension contributions, say 3% of your salary, and you decide not to contribute, you are turning down a direct pay rise. Full stop. There is no better way to describe it. Your employer has put money on the table, and you have decided to leave it there. The problem isn't just the contribution you're missing today, it's the compounding growth of that contribution over the next 30 or 40 years. A single year of missed contributions in your mid-20s could represent thousands of pounds by retirement, not because the contribution itself was large, but because of what it would have grown into over time. Your employer match is quite literally the highest guaranteed return on investment you will ever find in your lifetime. Before you put a single pound or dollar into anything else, you should be contributing enough to capture every last penny of it. But leaving free money on the table is only one side of the problem. The other side is something far more aggressive, because while you're passing on that pension match, there's a very good chance something else is quietly growing in the background. Something with a 28% interest rate that is actively working against you every single day. Let's talk about the trap that nobody warns you about clearly enough. Credit cards. Everyone has them. Most people think they understand them, and almost everyone in their 20s uses them in a way that quietly destroys their financial future. The insidious thing about credit card debt is how it feels. It doesn't feel urgent. You make the minimum payment, the account stays in good standing, and life carries on. But the balance grows quietly, the interest accumulates, and that $500 you spent on an impulse purchase becomes $700, then $1,000, then a number that starts to feel impossible to shift. In your 20s, your ability to take financial risk, to invest, to save, to make bold career moves is entirely dependent on not having this weight around your ankle. High-interest debt doesn't just cost you money, it costs you options, it costs you confidence, it costs you the mental energy and breathing room you need to build something meaningful. Get it gone before you do anything else. And this brings us to the root cause of why so many people end up in that credit card cycle in the first place. It's not recklessness, it's not laziness, it's the absence of a buffer, it's having no emergency fund. Think about the financial life of someone with no savings cushion. Everything is fine until it isn't. The boiler breaks, the car fails, a medical bill arrives, a contract doesn't get renewed. Any one of these events, for someone with no emergency savings, becomes a crisis. And crises have a price. That price almost always gets charged to a credit card, and then the high-interest debt cycle begins all over again. The goal of an emergency fund isn't to get rich. It isn't exciting. Nobody posts about their savings account, but it is the single most powerful thing you can do to protect every other financial goal you have. Without it, every plan you make, investing, saving for a house, building long-term wealth, can be completely derailed by a single bad month. The target is 3 to 6 months of living expenses sitting in a liquid account you can access quickly that you never touch unless there is a genuine emergency. You build it slowly and consistently, even if it's just 50 pounds a month. You treat it like a non-negotiable bill, and once it's there, you will feel a profound shift in your entire relationship with money, because for the first time, you will have options. Now that we've covered how to protect yourself from disaster, let's talk about building something, because even if you have never invested a single penny in your life, the window you have right now in your 20s is a mathematical advantage you will literally never have again. And the numbers behind it are almost too powerful to believe. Albert Einstein reportedly called compound interest the most powerful force in the universe. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in human history, has attributed much of his wealth to what he described as compound interest combined with starting young. And Benjamin Franklin put it best of all when he said, "Money makes money, and the money that money makes money." These aren't motivational quotes. They are mathematical facts. Here is how compound interest actually works in practice. When you invest money, it earns a return. Let's say 7% annually, a conservative long-term average for a diversified global stock market index fund. That return doesn't disappear. It gets added to your original investment. The following year, you earn 7% on a larger number. The year after that, larger still. It isn't linear growth. It's exponential, and the longer it runs, the more dramatic the results become. Here is where it becomes genuinely life-changing. If you invest $200 a month starting at age 22 and you leave it alone until age 65 at an average 7% annual return, you could accumulate approximately $700,000. If you wait until age 32 to start that exact same $200 monthly contribution, your pot at 65 would be closer to $340,000. Same amount contributed each month, same rate of return. But that 10-year delay cuts your final wealth nearly in half. You do not need to time the market. You do not need to pick individual stocks or understand complex financial instruments. You need time in the market. The simplest and most proven starting point is a low-cost index fund, a fund that tracks the performance of the entire stock market, held inside a tax-efficient account like a stocks and shares ISA in the UK or a Roth IRA in the US. You put money in regularly. You don't panic and sell when the market dips, and you let time do the compounding work for you. That's it. The complexity people fear about investing is almost entirely unnecessary. What's actually complex, and what nobody talks about enough, is the psychological barrier of starting when you feel like you can't afford to, which brings us to the reason why most people in their 20s feel like they can't invest, even as their income grows year on year. The answer is lifestyle inflation, and it is possibly the most elegant trap in all of personal finance because it doesn't feel like a trap at all. It feels like reward. It feels like progress. You get a promotion. You move into a nicer flat. You upgrade your car. You start eating out more regularly. You subscribe to more streaming services. You buy better clothes and upgrade your phone every year. Each individual decision feels completely reasonable. You've worked hard. You deserve to enjoy it. And that logic isn't entirely wrong, but the pattern it creates is financially devastating. The formula is brutally simple. Income minus expenses equals investable surplus. If you earn more and spend more in perfect proportion, your surplus stays at zero. You run faster on the treadmill, but you never actually move forward. The antidote is something called conscious spending, and it doesn't mean depriving yourself. That's an important distinction. It means making deliberate, intentional decisions about where your money goes, rather than letting lifestyle drift happen on autopilot. When your income increases, the default question should not be, what can I upgrade? It should be, how much of this increase can I redirect toward building actual, lasting wealth? Even a simple rule, like allocating 50% of every pay rise to savings or investments while spending the other 50% on lifestyle upgrades, will put you miles ahead of the majority of people your age. The people who build real wealth in their 20s are not the people who earn the most. They are the people who keep the most. So here is where we land. In your 20s, you have something that no amount of money can buy back later: time. The decisions you make right now. Whether you capture your employer match, whether you let high interest debt compound against you, whether you build an emergency buffer before you need it, whether you start investing even in small amounts today, whether you let lifestyle inflation quietly absorb every single pay rise, these decisions compound just as powerfully as any investment, for better or for worse. If this resonated with you, the single best next step is watching the video right here. It picks up exactly where we left off and takes you further. Hit like if this was useful, subscribe if you want more, and I'll see you there.